talked about some of the positives and the good things working in devices and regs. What about some of the negatives? And we'll keep this one brief. But what are the negatives? What should people watch out for when they're working in this industry?
Oh, are there any negatives? Well, I would say, I don't know if it's negatives, but you really have to have an extraordinary amount of patience, because you've got to have a attention to detail on everything. I mean, okay, we've got a regulatory perspective, so we're always looking on, what we say in the training so often is, well, if you didn't document it, you didn't do it. So no matter how great you are, you have to leave that trail of evidence, because like Richard said before, it's all about patient safety, improving lives in some ways. But at the end of the day, you're responsible for that interface of your product with the patient. So you've got to have that attention to detail, a good deal of common sense, because when all's said and done, people think the regulations are just something to follow, but actually it needs a lot of interpretation, I guess.
Yeah, and I think, although we both said we come from the technical, the life sciences backgrounds as we've come into this, actually, often in a lot of companies, especially the smaller ones, the person with the sort of the quality or regulatory background may just be the only person in the company who's championing that and the importance not of ticking boxes, but actually living that thing for the continued success of the company. And you're right, it can be very frustrating having to. You need the softer skills to bring people with you. It's not just about technical knowledge. It's about the ability to communicate that and ensure that the wider organization appreciates the role, and that those those requirements, those goals are met. Because a company, getting the regulations and the documentation right is half the company. At the end of the day, you can have the best product in the world, but if you haven't if you haven't done the work well and you don't maintain it going forwards, and that's critical about keeping up to date with the technology and everything else that's going around in this crazy old world of ours, you've got to keep up to date to be able to keep that product in the market and maintain it. And that maintenance is really important. You've got to get there. That's often the easiest bit. Staying there is the challenge for a lot of companies, and you could be the only voice yelling in the darkness about that. Yeah. It's a bit liberating, but it can be a bit of a challenge as well, and something you need to work with.
So I suppose in small companies as well, which is quite often the case of some medical device and IVD companies, you could be seen by the management there as the blocker for commercial success, or
absolutely.
And so you've got to, basically what you're saying there is you've got to you've got to be able to convince people, get the buy-in, and manage those people to make them aware that this stuff is important.
Yeah, absolutely. Your skills managing upwards in an organisation, sideways, and in every direction you can possibly conceive. So that those soft skills are a real important part of any skill set of anybody. Well, any good manager should have them, but I think it's absolutely vital in anybody working in this role. You might end up managing a team. Everybody has to deal with that, but integrating the technical with the softer success requirements are real challenge as you go.
So it's not just a technical person reading legal documents. Basically, there is that other side of it, which is really, really important.
Well, and I've said to people I've interviewed and brought into the industry over the years, I don't know of a job in any industry, a role in any industry that gets into so many areas of a business. Because in this role, you're working with sales and marketing to make sure that they're working within the system and that you're getting information from them and giving it back to them if you want them to carry on giving you information. The sort of trade, you're working with operations, so you're working with logistics, you're working with finance to make sure that it all comes together. You're everywhere. You should be integrated everything, and that gives you such a wonderfully broad view of an organization, rather than being I make stuff on a factory shop floor and that's where I am. That's only part of it. And not, if you want a broad exposure to all the elements of a functional organisation, I can't think of a better role. Really, it really gets out everywhere.
Yeah, that's true.
Cool, brilliant. And